fellow achievers. If you are new here, welcome. And if you are not, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ellen. I go by Coach Ellen online, and I am a burnout and stress management coach. And today we are going to talk about how you can steal my routine as a corporate employee and a business owner. How do we juggle them both? How do we make sure we're getting time for ourselves in our mornings? And how do we make sure our morning routines can adapt to us? Let's go ahead and dive in. Today we are going to be talking about how you can steal my morning routine as a corporate employee and business owner. Now, I definitely know that morning routines can be very, very tough. Mornings can be very tough, but it's especially so if you are somebody who has both a day job as a corporate employee or whatever government, academic organization you might work for. And then when you couple that together with having a side hustle, it can be even trickier, bouncing from project to project, idea to idea, task to task, without putting yourself on the back burner in the process. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to give you 3 tips that are really important to keep in mind when it comes to structuring your morning routine, as well as let you know what my morning routine is so you can steal it if you really want to. Now, I would by no means say that I am an expert at any of this. In fact, I've kind of found that over the years, it's really important for your sanity and for just kind of the seasons that will change in your life that you really, really make sure in your morning routine that you are meeting yourself where you are at. What I mean by this is, your workload, your capacity, your stress levels. Sometimes your morning routine is going to need to adapt to you because your workload, your capacity, and your stress levels aren't always going to be the same in any given season you might be in. So it's really, really important to be aware and to kind of listen to those changes in seasons as they happen. My morning routine has actually changed a lot over the years. I was taking inventory as I was writing the kind of companion blog post to go with this today. I realized how many times I've talked about morning routines on my blogs, on my podcast. I have talked about them so many times. First, the miracle morning, then kind of my own variation on the miracle morning, so on and so forth over the years. My morning routine has changed a lot. And I have quite a bit more flexibility. If there's anything that I've really, really changed, is that I have a lot more flexibility with myself in terms of what specific things I actually do on any given morning. I also will fully acknowledge, and I'm going to put this out there right away, even by corporate employee standards, I have quite a bit more flexibility than most corporate employees do. I work for an education company. That's my day job. It's a great job to have when you have a side hustle, but it's also kind of non-standard in so many ways because I don't always start my day at the same time. And I tend to start my day a lot later, my day job work day, a lot later than other people do. Sometimes I will start at 11. Sometimes I won't start until 2 or 3. It really, really depends on the day, the students I'm working with that day, and their availability. So I'm just going to put that caveat out there right now that my day job is weird. And in a lot of capacities, I have more flexibility than most people do. Now, that being said, I think some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today is applicable to you, whether you have that flexibility or you don't. But this is something I have kind of adopted as a benefit of mine. Could I have a more lucrative corporate job that maybe would have put me on a path to being able to go full-time sooner with my business? Sure. But I've really appreciated and kind of prioritized that flexibility over a bigger paycheck. That's been a choice that I personally made. Now, probably the biggest thing that has changed over the years when it comes to my morning routine and kind of the flexibility that I've had to adopt in my morning routine, especially as my business has kind of flourished over the last couple years, is the things that I do each and every morning and the things that I deem non-negotiable. I used to have kind of this laundry list of activities that I kind of felt like I had to do every single morning to have the best morning routine. I feel like so many of us can get very caught up in all of those things that we see online about, so-and-so guru says do this, so-and-so guru says do that. And before you know it, you have a list of 10 activities that you feel like you have to do every single morning. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that's changed for me is I no longer feel that need to do 8 different things for 15 minutes each every morning and have this freaking 2-hour morning routine. I don't really roll that way, and I don't feel like you can if you are somebody who's kind of in the situation I am in where you're a corporate employee, you have a day job, but you also have a side hustle on the side. So before I dive into my morning routine that you can go ahead and steal, I'm going to go ahead and give you 3 tips that I think are super, super important when it comes to your morning routine. I just realized I didn't turn on my light, so if the lighting changed, that would be why. But first and foremost, let's talk about the 3 elements that I find really important in a morning routine. I call them the 3 S's, if you will. And the first S is that your morning routine needs to be simple. As I kind of already hinted at, if I have learned anything over the years, it is that an elaborate morning routine really just doesn't work. In the long term, it's not sustainable, especially if you are somebody who has to balance, your corporate work with your business, your side hustle, whatever it might be. If you are doing that, having a big, long, elaborate, complex morning routine isn't really going to work. I used to be a massive proponent of the miracle morning. I will credit it to kind of giving me the foundations that I have in my morning routine, but over time, even just having 6 activities to do every single morning kind of became more tedious than it became beneficial. So I really am so much a fan of this idea of the first thing being to keep it simple. I actually saw a quote the other day from James Clear. He's the guy who wrote Atomic Habits, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something along the lines of, a lot of people choose their habits based on what they can do on their best day, when instead what they should do is choose habits that they can sustain even on their worst day. And I think the exact same thing applies to our morning routine. So as opposed to kind of having this very complex routine that you can only really maintain on your best days, pick something simple, something very, very easy to do even on your worst days, your busiest days, or the days where you maybe slept in way more than you should have. The second S in our 3 S's for a morning routine is that it has to be sustainable. So much of what I talk about as a burnout and stress management coach is sustainability. We need to have sustainable habits, sustainable systems, sustainable routines, sustainable everything. If you can't sustain the thing that you're doing for an extended period of time, it kind of doesn't freaking matter. If it's really, that is all it comes down to, is it has to be something that you can sustain and maintain for the long term. I think a big part about sustainable morning routines is ultimately that they have to be flexible and adaptable. Again, you might have kind of your ideal morning routine being, I'm going to meditate for 15 minutes and I'm going to read for 30 minutes and I'm going to exercise for 60 minutes or whatever. But what about the mornings where you sleep too much, or the mornings where kind of shit comes up in the morning and you just kind of can't get your morning routine done the way that you ideally would want to? Your morning routine needs to be able to adapt to that so that you can sustain it. And there's kind of a couple different ways you can do this. You can either set minimums in your morning. So I'm going to meditate for a minimum of a minute and read for a minimum of 5 minutes and move for a minimum of 10 minutes, whatever it might be. See, we then take like an hour-long morning routine and we condense it down to like 10-15 minutes. So you can do it that way, like approach it as this is the minimum that I'm going to get in. Or the other way you can think about it is don't focus on lengths of time, focus on activities. So if the activities that you're going to get in are meditation, movement, and reading. Oh, for a second there, I thought I was going to have 3 M's and that would have been kind of awesome. But meditation, movement, and reading, those are the 3 things that you want to make sure you do in your morning routine. If you don't set any lengths of times to those, then even if you meditate for a minute or 5 minutes or 10, all of that still counts as meditation and you don't feel like you're cheating yourself. So that's kind of another way you can approach it from a sustainable perspective. But I think that's really, really important, is it has to be adaptable, it has to be flexible, and you are not necessarily setting yourself up for success if you define specific amounts of times that you have to do each activity in your morning, and that's not something that you can maintain and sustain for an extended period of time. Last tip here is that your morning routines really, really need to be self-focused. Focused on you. That's really what this one is about. It's nice, simple, straightforward, and to the point. I think this is super important because you might have one season of your life where maybe your big focus is physical activity, and therefore putting your workout in your morning routine is really, really important for that particular season of life. I can say when I was doing 75 hard, that was typically when I got one of my workouts in over the course of the day, was during the morning. And if I didn't, it really, really threw a monkey wrench into my day and really made my day a lot more stressful in terms of completing 75 hard. But you also might have another season of your life where you have to kind of pivot your focus to your personal development or maybe to your business. Over the course of the last year, a lot of things in my business have kind of exploded. and I wasn't able to get the things done I needed to get done in my business in the way that I used to. I used to be able to kind of work in very, very small pockets, do the vast majority of my work on Fridays in my business. That does not work anymore in my business. And so actually I've kind of pivoted to doing some business work in the morning because I've realized I am very focused and very creative. That's like the best time of day for me to work on my business is actually in the morning. And it didn't serve me to force myself to get a workout in because that's what the gurus say I should do. It didn't actually serve me anymore to do that when instead I could get a little bit of work done in my business. Now I'm at the point where I can really, really trust myself that if I don't get my workout done in the morning, it'll still get done later in the day. So if that's not you and you've kind of locked in this routine where if you don't get your workout done in the morning, it doesn't happen, then maybe you can't do that. But for me in particular, my morning routine adapted to where I did a little bit more business work in the morning and then I worked out more in the afternoon or maybe in the evening if my workday ended early for my day job. So I'd say these are the three most important things when it comes to your morning routine. And now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to give you a little bit of a glimpse into my morning routine so you can steal it if you want to. So the first thing I do is I get up and I meditate. I sit down on my meditation cushion and I just use the Calm app. Again, keep it nice, simple, straightforward, very sustainable. I use the Calm app and I just sit down and I do my 10-minute daily Calm meditation. I will fully admit sometimes it happens when I'm in bed, but for the most part, I try to sit down on my meditation cushion and just do it there. Next, what I will do is I will usually come out to my living room and I may grab a cup of coffee right away. I am a Seattle girl, so I love me some coffee. I may grab my coffee right away, or I might just go straight to my couch, grab my Kindle, and I sit down and I usually read. This is the time that I read nonfiction. It's really, really important to me to kind of grow my skill set and my tool, not only for myself, but for my clients, my coaching clients that I'm working with. So this is a really, really big priority for me. After that, what I will do, and kind of something that I've modified over the years, is I will usually sit down and I journal. Now, a lot of people will say pen to paper journaling is the only way to go. I kind of think whatever the hell type of journaling is going to work for you and you're going to actually do, that's the best type of journaling for you. And I've actually found recently that I journal more inside of Notion than I do in my pen to paper journal. So what I will usually do is I'll take my coffee, I'll come over to my desk, sit in my super comfy desk chair, which I'll spend way too much time in because it is so comfortable. But I will sit down in my desk chair and I will do my journaling inside of my Notion journals. And I will also just kind of check in on my day. Now, this check-in into my daily tasks has become very, very important over the course of the last couple years as my business has grown. Because kind of like I mentioned, I've just got more to do. So I really need to make sure I have my tasks prioritized, I've blocked out enough time on the day to get those things done, so on and so forth. And having that daily check-in in the morning where I kind of prioritize my tasks and figure out what needs to be done is really, really huge for me. So this is what my morning kind of looks like for the most part. And optionally, I might work out in the morning depending upon my schedule, if I can't fit it in later in the day, or if I just feel like I need a boost of energy. Bonus tip, I do have a rebounder that lives in my living room, which I'm not going to show you right now because my living room has a massive pile of laundry that needs to be folded in it. But I do have a rebounder, and that is a way that I really, really like to use to kind of give myself a little bit of a boost of energy, a little bit of physical activity without necessarily getting in a full-blown workout. So that's it. Those are not only my 3 tips for how to create a sustainable, fulfilling, feels good morning routine, but also a little bit about my morning routine so you can steal it if you want to. You can kind of see how it fits into those 3 S's. It is simple, it is very sustainable, and it is very focused on me and what I need. I kind of have those components that I can just kind of adapt, ramp up if I want to do a little bit more journaling or ramp up a little bit more reading. I can adapt the things that I'm doing and how long I'm spending doing them depending upon the day. And I think that's really what has made this one of the best morning routines I've adopted over the years. But it can always change. If you ask me 6 months from now, it might look a little bit different. And that's kind of the purpose of those 3 S's, is that your morning routine can then always adapt to you and what you need for the season that you're in. Alrighty, that's it. That's all I've got for you in this video. If you liked what you were hearing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to drop a comment below with either your favorite takeaway or some of the things that you do in your morning routine. I would love to hear them. And until next time, I will talk to you soon, my friend.